Hello, my fellow Alaskans. How are we all doing on this beautiful Monday evening? It is snowing outside. At least the wind is not blowing like it was yesterday, and things are starting to look up here in Alaska. Today we are here at the Alaska School of Government at Real Life Church in Palmer, Alaska, and we are here to talk to or listen to Officer Luke Howard about the Alaska human trafficking and exploitation problem that we have going on within our state and what we can do, how we can take care of this problem. There's lots of stuff that we could be keeping an eye out for out there, and it's up to each and every one of us to do our part to learn the signs of human trafficking and what you can do to help prevent it. Take a moment right now while we're just getting started to please like, share, and subscribe to us if you haven't done it already. You can find us on YouTube, X, Twitter, Rumble, and Facebook. And you can always watch us live when we're live on our website at Politadick.com. And while you're at our website, as you can see with the links down at the bottom of the screen there, please go to Politadick.com, click that support button. All proceeds go right back into helping us do what we do and make sure that we're able to make it to even more of these events. Happening right now is Wasilla City Council is sitting there in Wasilla, and they're having another day discussing the books that need to be removed from these school libraries and put into the public libraries into adult sections. This is a continuation from last week. I was where I was at last week and was able to get that one recorded, but I haven't been able to get it uploaded to be streamed out to you yet. Also going on this week, we got Dr. Douglas Frank, who is going around our great state of Alaska explaining our elections and how they too are being exploited and the possibilities of how they've been doing it, and it's been going on for decades. I streamed that one last night. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it is a very long one, but it is extremely informative. The first 2.5 hours is the main part to watch, but once you get to the 4th hour mark, I know you start to lose interest, but let me tell you, it is well worth your time to go and see that. And here, let me just get myself set up here. I want to do a little bit of talking while we're waiting for these guys to get ready in the background here and make it so that I can see them going on. And bear with me as I move things around here just a little bit so I can get in front of the camera. All right, you guys should be able to see me pretty good here. I'll make sure on the screen. And again, I just want to repeat, if you're in the Wasilla area and you're by City Hall there where they have their community council meetings, you could show up there, give public testimony on the happenings for the public school libraries and the school libraries and the things that they got going on around them. And let me just do one thing here real quick. That should fix the last little bit there. Always hate it when the top of the hat is cut off and I feel like I'm a headless horseman almost. And this is going around, this has been happening throughout our state, the challenging of books that are on the school shelf systems and what is accessible to our children. And we need to do something and work hard on our part as parents to be taking an active role in what our children are being exposed to. The last time I checked, pornographic material was not supposed to be into the hands of children, and that is exactly what has found its way into our public school system. The ACLU of Alaska has filed lawsuits trying to prevent these books from being removed from the shelves, and by removed means that they're being put into either the top shelf in the adult sections, completely removed from our public school system so that way children have no chance of accidentally getting a hold of a book that their parents would not approve of, and the public library system putting them on the top shelf in the adult section, and you have to have adult permission to be able to check them out. Well, unfortunately, within our public school system, and they can do a pretty good check on that aspect of things. But when it comes to our public libraries, on the other hand, once you fill out that library card, your child can go in there and they are allowed to check out any book they want, even if it's in the adult section and you as the parent would never even know it. And this has really got to be questioned and challenged out there. If they want to put books that are considered pornographic, have pornographic material in it, have explicit pictures, explicit language, the stuff that back in the day when they had magazines like Playboy and Hustler out there and stuff like that, when the gentleman would say they just read it, they take it for the reading of the content that's in there. It has nothing to do with the pictures that are there. Well, you got to be an old fool and a dumb fool to believe all of that. I wasn't born just yesterday, and neither were you, and we need to all be taking an active role in doing something to help prevent that from happening. Tonight we're here again. We're with at the Alaska School of Government, and we have L.D. Howard, better known as Luke Howard, or I should say better known as L.D. Howard, but his full name is Luke Howard. He is an officer here in the state of Alaska. You guys may remember him better from in the past when the Mat-Su Valley was having the gun ranges going on and the limitation that was there. Him going out and helping to fight for the Second Amendment rights. I have lots of videos on when that had happened out there in front of the Mat-Su Borough building. And please go back and look it up. You'll get to know LD better. Him and I also participated in the Black Lives Matter protests that had happened within Palmer area there. And of course I was there to stream it all from start to finish. If you haven't caught that from back in 2020, please go back and take a look. He's also ran for a state house seat position back in 2020 and going up against Rauscher. Really wish he would have won back then, but it is what it is. The people out there that like to control our elections, the king and queen makers of Alaska that like to pick and choose who they want to have sitting there in Juneau, they did everything they can to vilify L.D. Howard back then and make sure that he wasn't able to be sitting in Juneau representing us. So he took a different direction after that, and he went into officer candidate training classes and school and became an officer here in the state of Alaska. And he has a very lengthy credentials. I can't even go through them all. The list that he gave me was just amazing, and he's still ongoing to school. He is working his way up through the ranks extremely rapidly. And tonight he's here to talk to us about human trafficking and exploitation of the Alaskans living in Alaska. And I had to stop myself there because I wanted to say just the children, but it's more than just children. We've got adults that are also being trafficked and exploited here in our state. It happens on a daily basis. And you may have caught one of my videos earlier this summer when I was out walking the homeless camps, and we come upon a gal that came out of a encampment out of an enclosure that was there at a park. And we assumed that because of the state that she was in of dress and what she was saying when she first came out of the tent, that something really vile had just happened there. And this person was so high on drugs, didn't know where they were or what country they were even in there for a while. We were there for about 45 minutes. It wasn't until the very end when we were leaving that this person actually acknowledged we even existed. But in our state and throughout the United States, drugs have a large part to do with what is going on. They find these people, they exploit them, they get them addicted to these drugs, they get them to start doing things so that they can get their next fix. There's a lot of way of exploitation can be happening throughout our state. And we have one of the most domestic violence problems in the United States. We are ranked in the top 1 to 5. I think we are currently number 2 for domestic violence per capita happening within our state. And it's something that we all need to work towards trying to help eliminate. And the only way we can do that is by education, making sure the people that are being exploited and trafficked or abused have access and availability to be able to go get themselves some help. and find ways to be able to get out of the cycle of the destructive life that they are within. And LD Howard here, he has a pretty good presentation that he'll be presenting to us. You'll see it up on the screen when this gets started. It normally starts right at 7 o'clock or shortly thereafter. It should be starting here real soon. I will be back here again tomorrow at Real Life Church starting at 7 p.m. We will be presented by Dr. Douglas Frank. For some reason I always want to put his last name first. And he will be here talking about election integrity and the ways that they could be manipulating our elections, and the ways that it's a possibility that our elections may not be as above board as we all think. It was a very good presentation that I live streamed yesterday. What ended up being almost 4 hours long. I was only slated for a 2.5-hour presentation, and 4 hours later we were finally calling it quits there. It was at the UAA Rasmussen Hall is where it was yesterday. And those that got to sit there and watch, I had a pretty good audience through all of my different channels, and I was really glad to see that video had a lot of views between all the different platforms, between YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and Twitter. It really got the message out there, and hopefully it gets shared even more, just like this video right now. Please take the time, like and share this video, and make sure that you subscribe to us. If you haven't followed us, you haven't made sure to click that bell to make sure that you get notified every time we go live, take a moment right now and do that. And share this video. The more people that organically share this video out there, the more that the social media's algorithms will kick in, and they will help kick that out to all of us to be able to see and watch, and more people will get notified that we are live, and then you'll be able to make sure that more people are informed about this discussion, this very, very important discussion that is about ready to begin here today. And again, take a moment, like and share this video. If you're not already subscribed to us on X or YouTube or on Rumble or Facebook, I'm not sure what platform you may be watching on, like us right now. Click that bell to be notified. Make sure you get notified when we go live. When I'm going live, I'm usually following something that mainstream media likes to keep hush-hush. They'll do everything in their power to make sure that you do not get to hear what is being said and what we Alaskans need to know. And it's up to each and every one of us to make sure that we educate as many people as we can about what we're dealing with in our great state. We're just about ready to start our legislative session here in January. It is just around the corner, and they're already talking about completely bankrupting the PFD to where we will never see one again. They've got 2 bills in play right now that made it halfway through in the last session, and those 2 bills, the base student allocation and the pension and defined benefits, are the 2 different ones. And if either one of them get passed, guaranteed we will not see a permanent fund dividend, because they'll have no other way to pay for it other than to take the remaining amount that they have been giving us and completely taking that away too, breaking our statutory laws that we have in regards to our PFD, continuing to be lawbreakers. Good indication why I think we should be having a sheriff within our state. We need to do something to maybe see, it shouldn't say maybe see, we need to actually do something to see about getting a sheriff within the state of Alaska. Somebody that answers to the people, that when they break the Constitution, they break the laws that they pass in Juneau, like our statutory PFD that they're supposed to be paying, things like that. We can arrest them, have them arrested, have them thrown in jail, charges brought against them, because a sheriff follows the law by the Constitution of the state of Alaska. So if the state of Alaska or the U.S. Constitution that we are all governed by in any way gets violated, the sheriff has the immediate right to arrest people, to bring charges against those people. Something that's missing in our state. That's the reason why when the governor, Dunleavy, had that time when he called the special session into Wasilla and only half of the body showed up here and the other half hid away in Juneau, those that were hiding away in Juneau that didn't comply with the orders of the governor to have the special session in Wasilla would have been arrested. They would have been brought into the Wasilla, and they would have been required to start their session in Wasilla instead of playing the games that they keep playing in Juneau and had it forced going back to Juneau. This is some of the things that a sheriff can do. When they pass the budget at the end of the year and they break about 10 to 20 of their statutory laws that they have, and I say statutory as in these laws have been on the books for a very long time, they have not been removed. One of them is like the longevity bonus. You know, that seniors at one point, up 20 years ago, they actually received a bonus. My grandma was one of them. When they took that bonus away, my grandma couldn't afford to live in Alaska anymore, and she went back down to the lower 48 where our extensive family is all from. Myself, I'm born and raised here in Alaska and proud to be. Looks like Edna is going to get ready to get started here in just a little bit, so take a moment again, like and share this video. Thank you very much for being here today. I'm going to go ahead and shut up and let Edna get going on her end. Facebook, you can always call my phone.
Hello?
Well, what I meant was,
Hello?
I don't think they have Facebook.
YouTube,
Hello?
Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Okay. Well, good evening. Thank you all for coming. Oops.
Not on.
Not on yet.
I hear you good, but
Do I do what? It's on. It's on, babe. You want me to use the one? Start with that one. Okay. Good evening. This one either. This one's on. If everybody would take your seats, and thank you all for coming out. Besides the weather, I know we have some other conflicts with the city of Wasilla, and
That'll give you less feedback.
okay. With the city of Wasilla, and one of the Republican women's is having a Christmas party tonight, and on and on. But anyway, we're thankful that you are here, and we look forward to hopefully answering some questions as well as making you more aware of exactly what's going on in our community, as well as the state, as well as the nation, and how we can fight against that. So with that, if you'll all stand, my husband will lead us in prayer.
Thank you. For this reason I bow my knee before the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, from whom the whole family in heaven and earth is named, that he would give us, according to the riches of his glory, power to be strengthened by his Spirit in our man, and that we may dwell that Christ may dwell in our hearts by faith, that we, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth, the length, and the depth, and the height, and to know the love of Christ, which surpasses knowledge, and that we might be filled with all the fullness of God. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or imagine, according to the power that worketh in us, to him be glory in the church, in Christ Jesus, through all generations, forever and ever. Amen.
As every time he reads that, I think about that section about above all else and what's impossible. And I think it seems like sometimes moment by moment, every moment of the day, you feel that the things are sort of impossible. But with God, we know that's not it. So you'll join me in the pledge, please. The flag's over here. I
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can go ahead and be seated. Back on the table, there are a few items. One is a CPACER. This is a new program that the Assembly has done, and we just did the pamphlet for it. And it is a loan program for businesses that need improvements on their buildings. And it's like the LIDs that you have for the borough, where the payment is to repay the loan is put on your taxes and your assessments. So that program is available. It's something the Assembly adopted about 6 months ago. One of the other items that the Assembly has done is encourage the feds to have a Social Security office out here in the valley, and they haven't set an office per se up, but they have set up this pilot program that is in Wasilla. There's a sheet of paper there, there's a phone number. I think probably what they're trying to do right now is to judge how much demand there really is to have a Social Security office out here. And that was requested by one of my constituents who had lost her Social Security card, and she doesn't drive, and and she wasn't able to figure out online how to be able to apply for a new one and stuff, and so she came to me and she said, I think we're big enough to have one of those. So this letter that is part of here is from Margaret at Senator Sullivan's office, and so I just encourage you to take that and pass it on regarding just something to help in our borough. One of the other things, as all of you know, that I'm responsible for, Mayor, is appointment to boards and commissions. And we have that on the borough website, so it's out there. And back there is a list as of the 1st of January that we're still seeking applications for. And then also there is a paper application there. You can also go on the borough website and pull that up. And some of the positions, you have to have an interest in that area. Some of them you have to live in a certain area. So anyway, just be sure and look at those and pass those along. And I'm not going to take any more time, but Officer Howard, if you come up, and we appreciate you very much being here. And if you want to introduce some of the cheering section you got.
Absolutely.
Especially the boss with the checkbook or something like that.
The one on the outside?
Yeah.
I don't need a mic, I'm pretty loud.
Okay, all right.
Most of you guys know me. A lot of you guys I call friend, appreciate you guys being here. Let me start by introducing our team, if you guys would. Devin, Terry. No, stand up, you guys stand up. That's Officer Stulo. This is Terry Lawson, our police administrator. And a lot of you know Don Anthony, our police chief. This is our team right now. And then everyone else knows my wife. Yes. Yes, she is prettier than me, I know.
For the TV.
So I'll just go over a little bit of what we're doing up in Chickland right now. Donna started revamping and resurrecting this department about 2.5 years ago. About 2.5. I came on about 6 months after that, and we've been working very, very hard. We've actually just had some really incredible news. We ended up working incredibly hard, mainly Donna and some others, on writing grants. And we ended up getting close to $6.4 million in grants for our department. And we're starting to employ that now and make us more effective, more places in the state. We also got accepted in the pilot program, which is a new program they're doing, which is letting us set up other law enforcement, or not set up, mentor other law enforcement agencies and tribal agencies, mainly like in the western states and more off-grid villages that have been without law enforcement for so long. And that'll get into part of my presentation as well. So we're doing some really good things. Donna's our fearless leader, and the rest of our team, we're all very committed. We're all very driven, and we all get along. We're like family. So I appreciate them being here. Kind of where one goes, we all go. So, I want to talk a little bit, I have quite a bit of experience in this field, especially when I was younger. See what I'm saying, too much. But people know this, I've helped out extensively in this area with, even on my own dime, my own time, with some kids that have been taken and some kids that got themselves in some bad situations. As I watch things happen, especially even on the federal training level and the state training level, and just even other speakers come up, they give a blanket about what trafficking is. It's a very generic, very big blanket term, and we kind of have a gist of what it is. A lot of us have a pretty good idea what it is, but it's never really applicable to our state. Our state is very different. And so we watch the things we watch, whether it be on the news, we watch things on Hollywood, we watch other things of that nature. We come to our own little schemas and our own little stigmas of what we believe it is, but we miss kind of the little nuances, especially in this state, that if we were more mindful of or more educated on, we could have an impact in our community. And that's the reason I started doing this. It's been a bit of a long process because actually we were just talking to another gentleman of how often we're gone lately, especially resurrecting this department. We've been gone about twice a month for the last 2 years of CTAS in Washington, D.C. and New Mexico and California and Washington and Oklahoma, and I go down the whole list of places we've been doing networking, getting this all stood up. And so it's taken a little while, and finally Meredith Reeves got a hold of me and said, I really want you to do this presentation. And I almost put her off again. I was almost like, it's the busy season, it's Christmas time, plus we got snow, we got traffic, we got motor vehicle accidents up the Glen, this is just not a good time. And then I was prompted that, a lot of what we've seen, especially in the last few years, is Christmas time becomes exploited by these people. Because what happens during Christmas? We get gifts. We get new technology, new video games, new cell phones, new ways for traffickers or exploiters to open the lock on our door, walk right in, and pretty much they're right there with our kids 24/7. So I really felt proud. I think Edna definitely had some divine providence asking me to do it again, but it definitely was confirmed to me that right now is a good time right before Christmas to try to educate and say, this is what we need to be mindful of, and this is how it works, right down to the nitty-gritty. So this is pretty PG-15. There is some stuff in here. There's no nudity or anything like that. But some of the stuff is, I don't whitewash anything. I get incredibly frustrated when I see things that are whitewashed, because I think it belittles the severity of the problem, and it also makes you guys not understand some of the little nuances that you might be more mindful of. And so if anyone has any problems, feel free to walk out, feel free to talk to me later. The way I teach, I love to teach. I'm also a firearms instructor, but I love questions asked when you got them. I don't mind if you interrupt me. Please interrupt me, because a lot of times you have it in your mind, it's so prompted right there, and then you just put it off, and then you don't ask. I think not only the questions, not only they're for you, but a lot of times they're for someone else sitting in the crowd. So put your hand up, yell at me, scream at me, whatever you want, but go ahead and ask these questions. This is kind of a learning experience, not just me preaching at you about something. All right? So I'm going to go over just the basic. Like I said, it's not generic, but I want everyone to know what trafficking is. You guys have seen this before, right? Pretty much the legal definition of what trafficking is: an unlawful act of transporting or coercing people in order to benefit from their work or service, typically in the form of forced labor or sexual exploitation. This is basically the federal standard of what constitutes trafficking, or the state standard of what constitutes trafficking. This is not what trafficking is. This is kind of my other frustration. We see Hollywood, we see other things on the TV and whatnot, and we kind of assume what we think. I'll go and read this because it took me a while to read this, but I write this, but I really think this hits home. By far the most pervasive myth about human trafficking is that it always includes kidnapping or otherwise physically forcing someone into a situation. In reality, most human traffickers use psychological means such as tricking, defrauding, manipulating, or threatening victims into providing commercial, sex, or exploitative labor. Many survivors have been trafficked by romantic partners, including spouses, and by family members, including parents and siblings, even friends and peers. Now, the last part's very important, especially for our youth. We've seen a much more uptick in youth being trafficked by their peers, 2 to 3 years older than them, if at most. Especially in Anchorage, what we're seeing there is the street gangs are the ones that are the main purveyor of the human trafficking scene. They get the runaway kids, they get the trouble kids, they get the kids that want to be in a gang. They get the blue ticket native kids, the ones that get kicked out of their village and dropped off in Anchorage that want to be a part of their gang, and they use them. They get them hooked on drugs. It's kind of a fun time. They get to use, smoke pot. They get to drink beer. They get to stay up late. They get to play their video games. How many of y'all have seen Pinocchio? Raise your hand. The old Disney one, not the new one. All right. Remember what happens when what's his name, Slappy or whatever? The boy asked him, "Hey, there's this place you can go where boys can be boys. They can do whatever they want." And so cuts the next scene, the boys are smoking cigars, they're drinking beer, they're grabbing rocks, they're throwing them through windows, they're loving life, they're breaking whatever they want, there's no rules, no adults, no nothing to worry about. Looks pretty good on paper, especially for a 13 or 14-year-old boy or girl. It's feeling defiant, maybe, has some questions on some things, but then also remembers what happens. They become jackasses. They become beasts of burden. That movie, to me, when I watch that part, is exactly what human trafficking is. It looks fun until you become a beast of burden, and that's what we see.
Which game?
Game?
Which game is
One we're watching right now is Sex, Money, Murder. It's a blood sect down in Anchorage. There's a few other ones as well. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are some cartel stuff up here. There is a few other things of that nature that are pushing that as well. But, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to know which gang specifically was responsible for the trafficking, the uptick in it.
There's many of them, to be honest with you. I think some of the more prolific ones are Sex, Money, Murder. There's a few other ones in that area. They're so brazen, ladies and gentlemen. They're actually putting their videos on YouTube, chronicling their crimes, displaying the girls that are runaways and the boys that are runaways, putting drug money, firearms, you name it. And you can go on YouTube and watch it. They're making their own little homemade rap videos here in Anchorage, Alaska. It's pretty brazen. They have no fear. So.
And if you have a question, if you raise your hand so we can get the mic to you before, and then, thank you. Go ahead.
If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Love the movie, but it's not what we see. This is not what we see. This is Hollywood glamorizing it, or changing how we actually see it or how it is in real life. So. My little clicker is being... You want to run over there? Okay, next slide, okay. These are individuals at higher risk. These are the ones we see as we've interviewed, or people have been interviewed and asking about, what happened or how did this happen to my child? I come from a good home. That's the other thing too, trafficking is not low income only. I know it always gets portrayed as that, it's not. Actually, we see a very big uptick on it on more affluent kids from nice homes. What happens is these children want to prove to their parents they can make their own money. That they want to go to the south side of the tracks. And again, you get the Pinocchio type scenarios. They get involved, they get in deep, they get courted, they start doing drugs, they do other things like that. They get the boyfriend status of their trafficker. They think they're in love and they're willing to do whatever they can for them. Hey, honey. Rent needs due. Hey, cell phones need due. Can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Next thing you know, it becomes 10 to 15 people a day. So there is no socioeconomic line that it stops at. It can happen to anyone. So recent relocations. We know we have a couple military bases up here. People are in and out. Alaska has an influx in and out all the time. Snowbirders, things of that nature. History of childhood neglect, physical and sexual abuse. Substance abuse. Both those things are major precursors to being put in the wrong situations and inevitably being trafficked. Mental health concerns, definitely one as well. With mental health concerns, it's the ones that are kind of the borderline ones, more depression, more bipolar, more things of that nature. The ones with severe health concerns, usually not so much, because they have more care around them 24/7. So we're watching, more the lower level psychological issues or undiagnosed issues, whether it be depression or other things like that, especially in our youth that is being exploited by these traffickers. Involvement in the child welfare system. A lot of times what happens here is, they've already had their family torn apart. They don't have much belonging. They get put somewhere they don't want to be put. Sometimes they get put somewhere they do want to be put. And then something happens, they run away, they're on the street, and it's easy to scoop them up. Again, I already covered homeless, runaway. Illegal immigrants is another big one, because they can't report. Something bad happens to them, who are they going to report to? They're in the country illegally. They're a prime target. Poor self-esteem, academically off track is another big one. And the Native community, especially youth that have left their villages. I'll tell you, there are spotters. There's people who watch at Anchorage Airport looking for young Native kids who are flying alone and scoop them right up before they even get off there. Hey, you need a place to stay? Hey, you hungry? Hey, I got weed. Hey, I got booze. Come hang out over here. It happens very frequently in this state, especially at Anchorage Airport, even at Fairbanks Airport. I've heard plenty of stories from the police department up there of what's going on there as well. Next slide, please. All right, here's the stages of trafficking. First we have targeting and luring. We have grooming and gaming. Coercion and manipulation. This is not just human trafficking as well. This is also exploitation. As we've seen exploitation kind of become more mainstream, or not mainstream, but more prevalent, is because they still can sell these videos as they exploit these children. They blackmail them, they do other things like that to get them to keep sending more little videos, more little shorts, more little clips. Well, those clips and those shorts, they sell them online. And so it's the way they make money constantly. Coercion, manipulation, isolation, exploitation, and then recruiting. Recruiting is more, again, into the trafficking side of it as these girls and boys get a little older. And when I say older, I only mean about 16 or 17 years old. That's considered quote-unquote old in that life. Then what happens is they end up recruiting. Sometimes victims always in return victimize as well. They already know the life. They want more quote-unquote friends around them. They're getting pressure from their pimps. They're getting pressure from their trafficker. They're getting pressure from whoever. And they go out and they have the nice nails. They have the nice clothes. They have nice things. And they recruit other young boys and girls to come out. More marketable ones, more around the age of 13, 12, 14, 15. So next slide, please. Targeting and luring. The internet has made every child online susceptible. Like I said, we pretty much opened the door. Technology is a necessary evil. I mean, it has got to the point now where if we don't have technology in our homes, your children are going to have a really rough time finding a job or, integrating into the world after they grow up. So we do have to have technology. It is part of our lives now. It's a very big part of our lives now. The key is how we open the door and how quickly we lock the door and what barriers we have and what filters we have for our doors in our homes with our children. The main ones we're watching with targeting and luring is relatives and close family friends of two-earner or single-parent households. Does that make sense of why that would be? What's that? Yep, exactly. So two-earner households would be where both parents work a lot, kids are home alone, kind of the Gen X thing, the latchkey kids. Single-parent households also, a lot of times they're working two jobs to keep a roof over their head and food on their tables. And so they're easy targets. Schools, again, we're watching kids. Kids are exploiting other kids. Kids in the same grade, kids 1 or 2 grades above. It's happening pretty frequently. Large group homes, foster care, rehab, shelters. I was speaking with a couple of the rehabs around here, another shelter around here, and they have a list of people, and they have license plates that people just sit there and watch for the girls and the boys go out and have a smoke break or do something else, like I go get coffee, and they just find ways to approach them. They try to get them right out of rehab and right out of the shelters. They're relentless. They're not going to stop. Fake job ads, modeling gigs, talent scouts, local malls, hangout spots, and online party announcements. This is another one we see mainly in Anchorage, and I'll show you some pictures of what we've been seeing as far as Anchorage is concerned. Oh, okay. Next slide, please. This is it's about an 8-minute video. The reason I want to show you this video is I want you to really ring in how quickly, after they make a profile for a 15-year-old girl, is she already being approached.
chasing child predators. It was 2 years ago when our team intercepted conversations between a 12-year-old girl and a 40-year-old pedophile. He wasn't just talking to her, he was abusing her, coercing her, collecting images and videos, and no one in her life, her parents, a 6th grade teacher, or friends, knew what was happening. I have a 6th grader of my own. I have 3 kids, actually, but you don't have to be a parent to be devastated by this. I work for a tech company that uses artificial intelligence to detect issues like grooming and sexual predation, and this is something we see constantly. These abuses are occurring quietly and mostly go unreported, and we want parents to know exactly what we know about what happens online. So we made a plan.
A man has been arrested for allegedly raping a 15-year-old that he met over Snapchat.
Instagram has become the #1 social media
is
site.
at the top of the free download.
We also see firsthand the predatory symbiotic relationship that exists between Instagram and Snapchat.
We would create a fictitious 15-year-old girl, complete with a believable social media identity, put her online, and document how long it would take for a predator to approach her. But creating a person out of thin air is complicated. We needed photos, but we knew we couldn't use an actual teenager. It would have to be someone on our team. I'm 37, but our graphic designers assured me that with the wonders of photo manipulation, they could magically make me look over 2 decades younger. We bought clothes and accessories, studied body language and facial expressions. We methodically covered and edited signs of aging, wrinkles, weight shifts, and stretch marks. Meanwhile, we coordinated with federal, state, and local law enforcement. Then we built a story around her, a history, a family, a social circle. Libby was born in 2004 and is a sophomore who recently moved to Indiana. We created multiple online accounts for Libby, prominently displayed her age, and posted typical teen content. We even created virtual friends for Libby who would comment on her posts. With everything in place, we would launch the project, give it a few months, and see if anyone would buy it. So we hit the button, and Libby went live. Within the first hour of posting on Libby's accounts, 7 adult men contacted her. By the end of 9 days, that number was 92. The conversations ranged in severity from making sexual comments to sharing and requesting explicit photos and videos to manipulation and threats. The onslaught was so massive, it took 5 of us playing Libby full-time to keep up. We decided to move off-site where we could scale up the operation and gather as much information and evidence as possible. Since Libby is 15, men might try to falsely justify their actions towards her because of her proximity to adulthood. Would parents question, where's the bar? Would a 13-year-old face the same barrage of predators? A 12-year-old? How young could it possibly go? The graphics team transformed me into 11-year-old Bailey. Bailey is afraid of the dark. She hasn't had her first crush yet. She's still prepubescent. A parent might assume Bailey would be insulated from any sort of predatory attack. We launched our 11-year-old persona online.
444 and go. One like from a guy whose profile photo is a penis.
So let's see. 1 minute and 7 seconds. We have a message request.
Although this, sorry, 2 more requests just came in. How much time? A minute and 40 seconds?
Yeah. How old are you? You go to the profile, you know that that is a child. It also says in the profile that the child is in 6th grade.
Another one.
It's just lighting up, like the inbox is just boom, 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 boom.
An incoming video call in less than 5 minutes.
I can't see you. Don't be shy.
They all say don't be shy.
Few parents know just how dangerous these platforms are for so many kids. So we brought some on site so they could see for themselves. 11-year-old Bailey's persona was approached with an even more disturbing level of manipulation and requests. The majority of the abuse happened from a distance. Our child profiles also received requests to meet up in person, especially our 15-year-old persona. 28-year-old Keith was relentless. Like the others, he took no issue with Libby's age. He shared explicit videos of himself. He treated the virginity of an underage girl as a prize to be stolen. It was a tough decision, but if Keith wanted to meet Libby in person, we would let him. We synced up with our law enforcement contacts, and within 24 hours, we were on the ground and ready to meet. We already had evidence of what he had done online, but was he willing to carry things out in real life? We knew 37-year-old me attempting to pass for 15-year-old Libby would be a challenge. But I would wear a hat, a lot of makeup, and a big sweatshirt, and see if he showed up.
Wait, so do you want to go for a walk first?
Why are you not trying to rush upstairs?
What was that?
Why are you not trying to rush upstairs?
I don't know, I'm a little nervous.
Let's go upstairs.
I've never done anything like this before, so I'm a little nervous.
It's the first for everything.
Yeah.
Don't be, I'm not gonna rush you. We just go upstairs and talk.
Okay, have you ever... Are you okay with me being 15?
I like to I don't want to just get old.
Are you hungry?
I'm trying to tell you.
Cyber tips coming in from the National Center for Missing and Exploited.
BARC turns over these potential child predators to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Using the app has led to arrests like this one in Florida last year.
The brutal reality is that a predator doesn't have to be in the same room, building, or even country to abuse a child. Libby and Bailey may not be real, but they represent countless children who are being sexually and psychologically abused, both online and in real life. I think about how I would have felt as a young, impressionable child. I would have kept the abuses to myself for fear of being shamed and blamed. I would have suffered with it, secretly and quietly.
Hey, Mama. Hi, did you have a good day?
Yeah. Mama?
Yeah.
I was wondering, so in 2 more days you're gonna come back?
That's right.
Okay. I love you.
I love you too.
Our work has led to numerous arrests, but it's a drop in the bucket. Our work, nor the work of law enforcement or legislation, will ever be able to protect children as well as engaged parents and guardians can. When asked, my advice for parents is to talk to your kids early and often, know what apps they're using and with whom they're communicating. When facing crisis, kids need a soft place to land. Make sure they know they can come to you for help.
Two lines in that, at the very end, are really what you should take away from this. So I put it at the header here. This happens 24/7. There's only so many of us in law enforcement. We can't be everywhere all the time. You know, you guys can do far more as parents and guardians once you're well informed to protect us far better than we ever could. Next slide, please. The other thing too that they were talking about there, she said that, you know, had this happened to me, that she would have kept it quiet for shame. This is also another aspect of what we're seeing being exploited, is more religious homes. They kind of look at someone's profile, they start looking at their friends. The homes that are more religious, they figure, hey, if I can get them to do just this or just that, then I'll have a little bit more blackmail material because of the guilt they feel, the shame they feel, they're afraid of what their parents will think. And so we've started to see that as well. So the more religious they are, or more outwardly religious into their pages, it's also being targeted as well. So please keep that in mind. Grooming and gaming. Grooming is when someone seeks to build an emotional connection with a child to gain their trust for sexual purposes. It happens both online and face-to-face, as children may often meet people online through social media or gaming who may not be who they say they were. It's important to discuss these risks with your children. I've watched statistics from NCMEC saying that most children on their social media profiles only know 15 to 20% of their friends. About 80% they don't know. 80 to 85% is just someone who friended them. And usually they had a friend of a mutual friend of a mutual friend. So you may talk to your children and let them know that, hey, don't friend somebody else that you don't know, or someone that you didn't know, or a friend of a friend, but maybe someone else's parents didn't have that conversation with them. And so then as you say, hey, you know, I know so-and-so, we have a mutual friend, I'm a safe person, it makes it easier for their guard to come down and gives them an in, opens a door. Gaming. A predator may offer small tokens of appreciation, praise, or willingness to listen at any hour. We know with our kids, my son used to be one of these ones that sometimes I wake up 2 or 3 in the morning, he'd still be playing Call of Duty. You know, he'd still be with his headset on and going to town and late at night. And, you know, I found it really interesting. A few times I told him to unplug his headset. You know, like the kids that watch a lot of the first-player shooter games, they have a headset plugged into their handset or their controller. I said, unplug your headset. So he unplugs it, and those who know me well outside of this know that sometimes I have a bit of a sailor's mouth. I'm not always, you know, shucks and darn. And these kids would have made me blush. What they were saying, how they were talking about it, things like that, as he unplugged it. And where my son plays his games, we have a big projector, like a 98-inch projector and surround sound. So hearing some of these things these boys and girls were talking about online and surround sound definitely sunk at home a little bit more. So for parents and for grandparents and stuff, be careful with those headsets. I think we can all notice that there's kids nowadays, they don't go anywhere without them. They never take them out. I'm surprised we don't have more ear infections and ear issues with these kids that always have their earphones in. The predator will also offer small gifts. In case of online gaming, there's usually a resource or currency used in the game. And honestly, it's a bigger one too, about the willingness to listen at any hour. You know, sometimes these kids just want someone to talk to, and these people are just perfect. They know what to say, they know how to manipulate. And late at night while you're sleeping, your child is having a conversation with an adult who's posing as something else, and they're starting to desensitize them. They're starting to bring up certain subjects. As those subjects become more normalized, certain actions become more normalized. It's a grinding it out process, and these guys have patience. Next slide, please. Coercion manipulation. Manipulation is the steering or influencing of choices of the child by means that might morally be problematic. Deception, pressuring, and desensitizing. Those are the two. I put them in red because that's what we see most of, especially in the exploitation department. Usually it starts off real innocent, laughing, they build a common bond, and then they start to pressure, or they start sending pornography. What we're also seeing is a lot of it's the anime porn, cartoon porn. That way it's not so graphic. You know, it's more cartoonish, it's more extreme fantasy. And so as they watch these cartoon pornography, it starts to desensitize them. It starts to make it to where it seems more normal, or they start having questions, or it seems taboo, and they want to be accepted, they want to talk about it, and as they start talking about it, they're given suggestions, or worse. Coercion. Coercion is understood as either having no choice or having no acceptable choice, and that comes later. After the manipulation, coercion comes. Next slide, please. So we're going to go a little deeper on how this process works. This is pretty much foolproof. If it's not broke, don't fix it type mentality. This has been working for quite a while, so we're going to go down these points, and we're going to talk about this is kind of how they work towards exploitation and even trafficking. This is more of an exploitation deal. but it also can work with trafficking as well. So predators will target both your sons and your daughters. Please get that in your head right now. It's not just our little girls. It is our boys as well. I'll tell you also, as law enforcement, we have certain assets we use. I use one called Spotlight. Spotlight is a website that has AI technology and other technologies that pulls prostitution ads, sex ads from all over the internet and compiles them together for me. I have certain search parameters, whether it be a suspected juvenile, whether it be dates, age, pictures, you name it. I can pick different color hair. You know, if we have a missing child, I can try to find ads via that. My wife was nice enough to bring me some holiday cookies and meat and cheese and stuff today, and I was finishing some of this stuff up, and I wanted to show her, not the ads, but just the extent. Just Palmer and Wasilla. Go ahead and chime out, anyone can chime out. How many ads do you think just today were posted in the Matsu Valley?
1,500.
You're close. 1,500. I think it was 992 just today. Guess how many for 1 week?
10,000.
14,000. 14,447, I think.
One second.
Wait a second, she's gonna give you a mic.
I'm trying to spread the word. Last week I was at Wolf Eye Clinic with my 21-year-old disabled daughter. She doesn't look disabled from a distance, but she's highly vulnerable. They will case the parents. I'm guardian, parent, conservator, etc., etc. This guy cased me out inside Wolf Eye Clinic, came up to her and said, "How about you sit on my lap, little girl?" And I looked at him and went, "Man, you're being inappropriate." And then he kept going, so I grabbed her and took her outside, and we left. I did report it back to Wolf Eye the next day, and they were on it because they had cameras.
Good.
So I just want parents to be very, very careful, because we are targeted as females, because I know that if my husband had been there, he wouldn't have checked me out first. I was 50 feet away from him, and we women know what it's like when men are looking at us. I'm 62 years old, and he was casing me. He was trying to see if how much I guarded her. And I ain't screwing around anymore, and it's bad. They're here.
Well, thank you for sharing that. All right, so I was showing Sarah kind of what was going on in the Matsu Valley, and I said, now watch this. And I clicked on Add Anchorage. Now any guesses? For 1 week, the amount of ads, if I include Anchorage and Matsu Valley.
60,000.
What else? Babe, how many were there? 335,000 ads. In a week. 335,000 ads. What happens is it's not just all people. Let me just make this disclaimer to y'all. It's not people, it's ads. So a lot of these profiles will kick up 2 to 3 ads a day to bump them up the queue, if you will, in certain sites. And so every time they're bumped up, it does count. So 335,000 ads in a week if you added Anchorage and the Matsu Valley. Now, how many of those, do you remember, Sarah? How many of those were suspected juveniles? Yeah. She said a good portion. I think the suspected juveniles were well over 70,000 ads with suspected juveniles. All right, predators will target both your, and this is where I was going with that, I'm sorry. We're seeing a lot of boys on this ad now. Before it was just girls. For the last probably couple of years, and even before that, whether it be Skip the Games, whether it be Adult Friend Finder, whether it be all these websites they use to list these, or Backpage when Backpage was still around, it was always girls. Girls only. Now we're seeing boys. Now we're seeing boys dress up like girls and transgender stuff, but very much still intact as a male. It's not just our little girls anymore. It's our little girls and our boys. First, they will target kids and friends with friends lists that are public on social media. So again, simple things we can do. You know, just because you don't have to put it public. Their friends can still find them. True friends can still find them. But having your friends list being public, they can go to someone else that has, it looks like they're collecting friends, someone has 1,000 followers or 1,000 friends, click on them, and then when they click on them, oh, my friend knows them, they must be safe. These people are smart. We're always playing catch up. We've never been ahead of these people. Because they can claim to have mutual friends, which builds trust and familiarity. Over time, they'll start to talk about sex, usually acting like a curious teen or child.
LT.
Yes, sir.
And I just wanted to add that all your social networking sites that you have, be cautious about them. Even if you put your parental locks on them as you go through, if they update anything on their site, it refreshes all their settings. So you have to go back into them and reset them, otherwise they unlock them. So just be cautious of that. Facebook does it all the time. Every time they update, it resets everything. You gotta go back into it and relock them.
Very good point, thanks, Devin. Over time, they'll start talking about sex, usually acting like a curious teen or child. They will offer to send a nude first. It looks like they're the ones being trusting and vulnerable first. They will ask for one in return. More often than not, your son or daughter will comply. I know you don't think they will, but they will. Almost immediately, they begin to blackmail your child, threatening to share the photo with everyone your child knows, including you, the parent, which is their biggest fear. What they want depends on the victim. Boys, they want money. Girls, they want more explicit images and then videos because they're marketable. Whether it be dark web, whether it be other things like that, they can sell these videos and they make a lot of money off of them. Next slide, please. Exploitation and isolation. Child sex trafficking and exploitation of children, child sex tourism involving commercial sex activities, commercial production of child pornography, online transmission of live video of a child engaged in sexual activities in exchange for anything of value. Isolation. Offenders carefully groom and control their victims by systematically separating them from their families, friends, and peers, socializing and acclimating the victim into sexual relationships by exploiting guilt, fear, rewards, excitement, and taboos. Again, guilt is seen the one that we're, guilt and fears. And it's exciting at first to some of these kids, but that's what we're seeing, probably the three that are exploited most. But guilt is definitely one, and this is why it's so very important to have those relationships with your children, is be able to talk to them. Like she said, you know, if your child gets into a jam, at least give a safe place for them to land, a soft place to land. You know, I know you're gonna be upset, I know you're gonna be frustrated, I know you're gonna wonder, where did I go wrong? How did this happen? But leave those channels and those communication open with your children so they can talk to you about it. It's better than them not talking and having it progress into something far worse. Next slide, please. Those are some of the red flags. I couldn't add much more without it covering up the prior ones. If you all want, take pictures. If you all want, do whatever you want. But these are some of the red flags we've seen. This is often some of the cases we've asked. You know, parents or other people like that, or, you know, guardians or whatnot. What do you see? What were your warning signs you missed? These are some of them. I think in Alaska, I think a lot of it would probably be personal style changes for sure. I don't know if we'll see handlers in sight like we would as much lower 48. Multiple cell phones, that is a big one. Having a burner phone separate than the phone that the parent gives them, big red flag. Older friends, of course. You know, in Alaska, we don't have a lot of kids in the same way, we don't have a lot of population. And so us as parents sometimes think, oh, they're older, you know, it's fine, you know, they're driving them around or whatever. Watch for the older. I'm not saying all older friends are bad, but really vet out these friends, really pay attention to their families and who they are, what they do. Changes in their clothing, changing to more inappropriate, provocative clothing. And then start watching the flat effect. The flight or flight kind of leads into suicide and other things like that. You'll start watching the depression because of guilt and because of fears and because of things of that nature. So, if they're just saying, hey, I'm having a bad day, or hey, I'm tired, you start to see it day after day after day. Really have that open conversation with your child. Really get them turned on to where you can talk and say, you can trust me, just let me know, what's going on with you. Hotel keys, probably not so much around here. Preference for gang symbols. Tattoos, probably not one we'd see on, or branding and tattoos, not one we'd see on a child from a home. It's usually more of a runaway thing. Any questions on these? Next slide, please. All right, so that was the basics. Now what does it look like here in Alaska? Next slide, please. All right, so what labor trafficking is. These are the main industries, the three main industries we're seeing labor trafficking in our state. Actually, the majority of it is the fishing industry, is what we're seeing, but also the hospitality and some of the restaurant, mainly the hospitality and the fishing industry. Next slide, please. All right, this is our sex trafficking. I don't know if y'all can see. The very one in the middle. This was just as of July 4th, 2023. Her name is Maria. Seen in one location, usually that's a pretty good sign. She's quote unquote a fresh girl. Some of these girls have been in 600 different locations. Their ads have been in over 600 locations. They follow a circuit. Usually kind of goes from Alaska, down the west coast to get to California, over to Arizona, Las Vegas, down to Texas, come back up. They hit Dakotas because the mining and the gas, or the oil wells and the natural gas, go through Montana, Wyoming, back up into Washington, back up, and it's just a circle. They make those circles. So you can see also on top, how many ads does that say? 14,222 ads from 4,120 profiles found in our default location. That again was 1 week's worth of searching on my parameters. So 14,222 ads. There's another one, suspected juvenile, suspected juvenile. You can see some of the sites we're using. There's adult look. Does anyone find anything familiar in these pictures? Raise your hand if you do. Top right. Do you recognize that building? Where's that building at? What? That's one of them. There's three in the Matsu Valley. There's three spas, is what I'll call them. I won't go any further into that. But there's three in the Matsu Valley. Place that we can go get massages and other horrible things. We have three so far in the valley. This is the branding and tattooing we're seeing. A lot of times you'll see it on the girls' necks and boys' necks. What it is it brands them, lets them know who's their handler, who's their trafficker. Sometimes those young ladies will also see it on their chest here, or we'll see it on the inside of their arms here. So these are kind of some of the tattoos we've seen. Diamonds are really common, crowns are really common. Anything else that we've seen common? Donna, Devin? Sometimes money signs, just the dollar signs. But yeah, this is the brandings we see, is more of the diamonds, daddy's girl, and then usually a crown with the trafficker's name, whatever his street name is. Yes, ma'am.
I work with a lot of young people in their early 20s, and sometimes I will see stars. They look like constellations almost, but it's usually like
more than nautical type stars.
Not just nautical, but just like just regular stars that are yellow or red, or and it's usually like they come in clusters of 3. And I was just wondering if that's
not so much there. No, not really. No, stars have just been popular, especially the nautical stars got really popular, and some of the little chain stars got popular for young ladies and whatnot. Just because it's neutral, it's not considered trashy, it's not offensive, and so like most tattoos are.
Question here.
Yes, please.
If we have a few places in the valley that we're able to early identify, how hard is it to infiltrate?
To shut them down?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually.
A lot of it has to go to probable cause. Donna?
I'm just going to give you an example. I spent 6 years in the Drug Task Force. We did an operation here in Palmer to do we had a female officer working undercover to do sex trafficking, and we had our team here in Palmer, and we took down a bunch of people for that. This is a couple of years ago. People were more mad that we took these people down. They didn't want the operation. That is our biggest issue. We don't have public support. I'm going to tell you the truth, what happened back then. We had judges, probation officers, all showing up wanting to purchase sex from one of our undercover females, and it was shut down here in Alaska. We did only one operation, and the outcry in the media was shocking. So we need people like you to stand up and say, we don't want this in our community. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Absolutely. I'm glad Donna said it, not me. I don't get as much trouble then. Next slide, please. Here's our online parties. They blast them out all over the place. All these parties here, Anchorage. See the address is up Brayton. It's right down off Old Seward, Brayton. There's a golf course there, Fox Hollow.
I'm going to ask, this isn't shown live because it's going to cause some issues for operations. If you cannot video the addresses, because there's ongoing investigations. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So these are some of the ads. These are some of what's happening here. These are people bragging about how much money they make. And this is where they get the girls in, the boys in. They offer drugs, they offer alcohol, they offer things like that. They have dance contests with poles, if you know what I mean. And then they usually get the kids drugged up or drunk, put them in the back room, and they start initiating, commercial sex with them. And then once it's happened once, there's a guilt, there's a shame, they kind of just get them hooked. Plus with the drugs, plus with the excitement of the music and whatnot, the partying scene, these kids get hooked pretty easily for quite a while. Next slide, please. All right. Yes, sir.
On that last one, are those, I'm not very tech, so on those last ones that we were looking at, are those video advertisements that are there?
They're mainly like card advertisements, if you will. It's just a Facebook blast.
Okay.
And so what they can do is they can share them with their friends only. And so they get one guy that has a bunch of friends that are young that, they can pass it on with all theirs. So it stays out of the eye of most of the parents, because you can put who the invites go to. You can put who these flyers go to and who doesn't see them. And so these kids see them in their networks only. The parents aren't really privy to them. A lot of law enforcement isn't privy to them. A lot of other things like that are not privy to them because they set certain parameters on who they want to share with or who it's visible to. So, good question, very good question. Anything else on the questions for that one? All right, these are the 15 apps you should know about, and this is even outdated already. A lot of this is outdated. You guys ever heard of Calculator Plus? That one's Calculator 1. Now we have Calculator Plus. Has anyone ever heard of that app before? You have? Wow. It's just finally kind of people turning on about this one. Guess what it is? Do you know what it is? No. Okay. So what, Dave?
It's a calculator program that if you go to a certain number in it, it opens up a back door so you can. It's a calculator program. If you use it up front, it looks like a calculator, runs like a calculator, but you put a certain code of numbers in it, it gives you a back door into secret chats.
Yep. There you go. So your parents can think you're checking your phones on your children. You don't know the code, it looks like it functions like a calculator. You can do 2 + 2, you can do 5 × 5, you can do whatever you want, and it acts like a calculator. But you put your 5 or 6 digit code in there at the right time, it opens up a gallery, screenshot text messages, search histories, everything like that. And you are not the wiser, because it doesn't look like Snapchat. It doesn't look like Kik. It doesn't look like Omegle. It doesn't look like Hot or Not. It looks like a calculator. That's how bad it is. That's how they're trying to manipulate our children even worse and make it easier for them to hide stuff. Who all knows that actually Snapchat even has a second Snapchat inside the first Snapchat? You do. Good. Bert does. All right, so yeah, we have a normal Snapchat, and then you can actually take your snaps before they get deleted or ones you've shared, put in a code, and it goes to your hidden Snapchat. So it opens up all the nudes, all the other stuff you sent, or text messages or things you had, you don't want anyone else to see, even though Snapchat will still delete them after 24 hours. These are the ones it doesn't delete. So like I said, we're playing catch up, ladies and gentlemen. We're always playing catch up. And the problem is, I'm not trying to be an ageist. We're old. We're not as smart as our kids when you put a cell phone in our hands. Unless you're an IT professional, and unless you're something to that extent, you're just not. The other problem too is we see a lot of grandparents take guardianship of their children or their grandchildren and raise their grandchildren up. While I commend you, you're definitely outgunned. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm hoping to educate you more to where we find ways to educate you to what you can see and what you can watch so you can protect your grandbabies or whoever else is put in your charge. Hot or Not was really popular, starting to die down. Hot or Not was really, really bad, especially for exploitation. They get these teams of guys, they would tell girls they were not hot. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. You basically put a picture of yourself and you let the world rank you, whether or not you're beautiful or not. It's kind of sadistic. So you get votes up and down if you're hot or not. And so what these guys would do, or these teams would do, adults would do, would downgrade a young boy or young girl, knock down their self-esteem. And all of a sudden the knight in white horse would come out and say, oh, I think you're beautiful, send me some pictures. And they'd fall for it because their self-esteem was already so low and they felt so bad. That one's starting to go away, thank God. WhatsApp is another one. Grindr, actually we just had something with Grindr. Grindr is actually for homosexual and bi-curious, transgender. It's basically a meat site for that. It's very explicit. Grindr is incredibly explicit. So, a lot of parents don't even know what half these are. You know, we're so busy, you don't know what apps are on your kid's phone. It's just some little thing, you don't think anything of it. Or they find ways to hide apps. You know, a lot of these phones, you click the top 3 buttons on the side, go to hide app, or go to reveal apps. So a lot of stuff on the face, when you look at a phone, you won't see it until you pull it out, and then you start to see everything. Next slide, please. These are our games. Out of all those games there, which one do you think is the most prevalent right now for exploitation and for grooming? Raise your hand or give me an answer. Which, out of all the games you see right there? Yes, please. Which one? Close. Ah, she had it. Fortnite. How many of your kids play Fortnite? How many of your grandkids play Fortnite? It looks like a, entry enough game. It's kind of this huge realm where anyone can do anything and run around and shoot each other and first player and, doesn't think anything of it. There's huge, huge chats on Fortnite. Huge. And this is kind of one of the sites. It used to be Minecraft and Roblox. Roblox was really, really heavy for a while, especially up in this area. As well as one rated E for everyone. That gave us a false sense of security of what games we're putting in front of our children. The only difference is I don't care how a game is rated. If it has an online chat, it's already rated mature. Period. Get that into your head right now. If there's any way for that child to interact online with any kind of chat, it's already rated mature. And I'm not just talking about adults. I'm talking about anyone on that chat. I'm talking about peers their age. I'm talking about maybe 1 or 2 years, even peers younger than them. We'll say some things that'll make you all blush real quick. Snapchat, of course. Oculus. Oculus is a VR set, so you guys know the sets. They're really popular, the virtual reality. So virtual reality is another one. The thing about the Oculus is you can get the little built-in earphones for it. There's a little VR set. You don't hear or see what the kid is watching or doing. All they're doing is just sitting there doing their thing, maybe talking, maybe chatting, maybe doing whatever, but you don't get to see it unless you have it jacked into your computer and playing on the screen. Then you can watch what they're doing, what's being said. A lot of chats. This is also run through Facebook. Facebook's another one where we see a lot of kids being propositioned. Oculus is also tied into Facebook, and so the same type of chats. And so the games, to get the games, you have to go onto Facebook, and on Facebook, now you open yourself up to these chats. So the virtual reality sets are really, really popular for this as well. But it's also a very incredibly popular Christmas gift. Minecraft? Yeah, Minecraft. Very bad. Absolutely. Minecraft, Roblox, and Fortnite. Those 3, if you have those games, I wouldn't. I'll just say I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. The amount of traffic, conversation, and things that happen in those chats are horrible, for those three explicitly. Any more questions on this? Any other games you guys thought maybe are inappropriate for your children that I can add to my list? I'm still scouring. Trust me, I'm playing catch up all the time, ladies and gentlemen. Next slide, please. All right, here's some of the resources and tips. This is the nitty gritty. This is where, like I said, I can preach to you all day long of what we're seeing and what we're doing, and I can warn you and I can educate you and I can try to tell you, this is what you should be doing. These are like the first little steps you can take to start to put some deadbolts on your home, online home, if you will, or your resources and tips for parents and guardians. So routers with parental controls. That's a bare minimum. That's a bare minimum. Because most of our kids have cell phones. Do they need internet half the time to run their cell phones? No, they got 4G, they got 5G, they can still do it outside of that. Most kids don't do tablets or laptops anymore because they're bulky. It's a pain in the butt. They want their cell phone because it's all hidden in there. It's easy. They can hide it, they can put it in there, whatever. And it's hard for you to get a hold of it. They already know them up, down, left, and right. They know how to hide everything. They know how to hide apps. They know how to do whatever they want to do. So yeah, the parental controls with the router is the bare minimum. That's step one. This is probably one of the biggest ones. Honest conversations, expectations with your kids. No new photos, no porn, no bullying, etc. Have your standards for your family of what you'd want or you're not going to allow in your home. What kind of action and conduct you're not going to allow in your child. Possession of phone time and restrictions. This one is really actually effective, believe it or not. You're going to get some kickback and you're going to be the horrible parent probably for a week, and they're not going to like you very much. But turn all devices into the parent's room before bed. Are you glaring at me yet? I'm just playing, buddy. All right, so two things are going to happen with that. One, you know for a fact, unless they have something hidden in their closet, where do you hide stuff? All right. All right. In your stuffed animals. Wow, MacGyver. All right, so two things are going to happen. One, you're going to know where that technology is. You're going to know they're not on it, especially late at night. And two, your child might actually get 8 hours of sleep and be more productive and not so cranky. So I know it makes you a big jerk. You don't look happy either, young lady. Sorry about that. I'm just kidding, I'm playing. So, two little simple things we can do that would make a really big dent in this. And again, you're gonna get kickback, you're gonna get fits, you're gonna get, but my parent or my friends' parents don't do this, why are you so crazy, why are you trying to control me? Those comments are definitely better than the alternative, or having a child go through something traumatic or damaging. There's another big one. Parents and guardians, understanding of tech and capabilities of your kids' devices. There's places you can go, I promise. The college does offer Android, Apple. There is classes you can take, believe it or not, and they're very cheap. Maybe probably see if we can, I don't know, we can probably reach out to Best Buy, Geek Squad, and maybe have them do a seminar, like a 2 nights a week, where we educate more parents on how these phones and how these tablets actually work. I think it'd be great. Maybe we'll write a grant for it or try to pressure them, shame them if they don't.
Guilt.
What's that?
Guilt.
Guilt, definitely guilt. All right, phone monitoring software. This is another one I've had parents kick back on me on. Oh, I can't spy on my children. That's invasion of their privacy. Yes, you can. Absolutely you can.
Until they're 18.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, until they're 18, their butt is yours. That means that phone is yours. Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right, so phone monitoring software. The other thing, too, is have your kids' passwords. Check their passwords. Ask them what their passwords are. Write them down. Have them write them down for you. And then check them to see if they're true. Check them once a week. Impromptu, surprise inspections. You gotta get a little campaign hat on, pull it really low and start barking loud when you walk in the room too, it helps. Next slide, please. All right, here's some of the warning signs and concerning behavior regarding social media and phone use. It interferes with, and some of you guys are going to start noticing that, yeah, you see these things in your children. It interferes with their daily routine and commitments such as school, work, friendships, extracurricular activities, and most importantly, their chores. For some reason, they never happen. I have a son that does that. They often choose social media over in-person social interactions. It prevents them from getting at least 8 hours of quality sleep. It prevents them from engaging in regular physical activity. They keep using social media even when they express a desire to stop. They experience strong cravings to check social media, and they lie and use deceptive behavior to spend time online. These are the kind of warning signs you'll start to see. And as certain ones intensify, definitely red flags, especially more of the experience strong cravings to check social media. I was watching one. There's a girl that takes her phone into the shower. She has a waterproof bag and it goes in the shower with her, is what her parents were saying. That way she didn't miss a phone call or a text. That would be a little bit small red flag to me personally, but what do I know? My kids are adults now, I'm good. The 8 hours of sleep's big too. You know, physical activity. A lot of stuff we used to do as kids, and when we were, you know, if you're 45 or older, you know, things that we shake our head to watch our kids do is kind of some of the warning signs that we're seeing. Next slide, please. All right, so that video you guys watched, the first part of this presentation was from a company called Bark. Bark works with NCMEC, they work with missing exploited children, they work with a lot of different agencies. Their software is amazing, and it's only $14 a month. What it does is it tracks location, which is huge. Huge, huge, huge. You know where your kid is at all times. 2, it monitors your content. I'll tell you the coolest thing Bark did, even if Snapchat deletes it, Bark doesn't. So it's gonna be real funny when your kid says, oh no, that didn't happen, because they think Snapchat is like the end-all be-all of sneaky little 007 stuff. This one stores it. Gets alerts 24/7. It actually has AI technology where if it starts to see bullying, if it sees certain keywords that traffickers use or exploiters use, it will send a text message alert to the parent's phone. This software is amazing, ladies and gentlemen. If you have friends with kids, if you have kids with kids, if you have anyone, neighbors with kids that are having issues, Bark. I can wholeheartedly endorse Bark. Blocks websites. So monitors text and emails over 30 different apps. I know YouTube's one, Snapchat's another, a few other ones. It saves phone, it saves videos, it saves phone numbers for whoever's approaching your child. So you know who's contacting your child, so you can actually turn it over to the authorities. Learns how to address issues, has tips, it manages screen time. You can shut off time at night. So you don't have to have the argument of, hey, I'm taking your phone, or hey, I forgot to bring it to your room tonight. You just flips the switch and they can't use it anyways. You can actually set it to where, okay, I know your kid has to be up at 6:30 to go to school, so you flip the switch at 6:30. And then what you can actually do is more fun for school, is you know what time their class is and what time their lunch is, so you can actually set parameters to turn off while they're in class, because they don't really need their phone when they're in class. But their lunch hour, half-hour lunch, they can talk and they can text, they can do whatever, and then you turn it back off until the rest of the day, and then you can turn it back on. So we're helping them learn. This is being responsible parents. But you're really gonna get some kickback, I promise you. You can block apps, websites, and keep up with the kids' locations and check-ins. You can actually have your kids have to click check-in, so you know if they left their phone at home on purpose or things of that nature. Bark is an amazing, amazing resource for parents. I really, really, really encourage anyone who has any doubts or questions, even just for the monitoring, it's worth it to know where your kid is. It's cheaper than one of those Air tags or Apple tags or Samsung tags or whatever. Next slide, please. Not that boring, am I? All right. We must educate parents, guardians, teachers, groups, church groups, community outreach programs, law enforcement, what human trafficking looks like, and to be aware of the tactics of traffickers and groomers. We must also educate ourselves to the warning signs exhibited by someone who is being trafficked or groomed or exploited, so that we can act immediately to remove the victim from the situation, mitigate further harm, and prosecute the traffickers. This is, it really, I can't tell you guys, I'm not gonna lie, this state right now is running at about 40% capacity for law enforcement. And there's probably another 40% of the state that has no law enforcement. More of our villages, it's just the way it is. Everyone's struggling. Everyone's having other agencies do agency assist. Can you help me out? I'm busy over here. I've heard certain agencies call during a motor vehicle accident and being told, go ahead and pull off that because we have a domestic violence over here. Usually you don't need motor vehicle accidents, especially if there's other traffic concerns and you don't want other pilots. That's how understaffed we are. So no matter how much you want us to and how much we want to be everywhere all the time, we just can't right now. It's you guys are going to be the one to fight it, and we're happy to help. We are. Law enforcement is happy to help. But you're going to probably be the ones that find it first and give us the red flags and let us investigate, let us continue it. And the more information you can have, whether it be through BARC or things like that, the faster and easier it makes it our case and more effective, we can move on to the next case as well and start working on prosecution of these animals. So, do we have any more questions, any more comments? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. About 6 months ago, I saw a missing, like somebody posted on Facebook, their child was missing. So I took it and copied it and I shared it with the one of the official missing Facebook pages here in Alaska. And the admin took it down and then she emailed me on the side and she said, don't ever post unless it has a report number. She goes, because it's used for human trafficking. They are either seeking somebody they want picked up or somebody that they had and got away. And that one didn't have a police report number. So that's always stuck in my mind when I see these things on Facebook. Unless it has a police report with it, I won't share it now for missing persons.
Sure. Candy?
So the FBI brochures that I was handing out, are those strategic in your opinion? Are those good numbers for people to contact?
Yeah, absolutely. No, Jolene's still on there. Jolene Godin with the FBI. She's on the Human Trafficking Task Force. Phenomenal agent, great person. Jolene's an amazing agent. The numbers you have on there are all effective, yeah. Some of the information's already outdated, yeah. Again, we could probably print these once every 2 months and still be outdated and still be playing catch up. And so a big part of this is just having you guys educate, watch some videos, have those conversations with your kids. Maybe ask your kids, what are they seeing from their friends? You'd be surprised, what sometimes you'll be told of certain apps they're hiding or certain behaviors they're starting to employ now that we didn't ever think of, we wouldn't think of. But it's going to be important to have this conversation with your kids because they're the ones that are the wealth of knowledge and the wealth of information. We can try to compile as much as we can, but the kids are going to be the ones to help us, to be honest with you. Please.
So there was a lady in Alaska. I talked to her, one of our senators talked to her also. She was doing some presentations at either Colony Middle or Colony High School, and she wanted to meet. She was law enforcement, or had been law enforcement in another state, also very involved in exposing human trafficking. And I remember her saying that not only were they wanting to have meetings or meet with different groups, youth groups, parents, grandparents, whatever, but also that Alaska needed a law. So if there was a child or student that was being used as an accomplice to the crime, that Alaska didn't have a law to, if this person didn't realize their involvement in the criminal aspect of trafficking. So I don't know, I was wondering if you are seeing some law changes, or are there any things that are going on that will benefit the reporting, dealing with the traffickers?
I think actually, Jared, you probably could answer some of this, I think possibly, if I'm putting you on the spot, it's 614 or 616, it's the online exploitation one they just did.
I don't recall off the top of my head, sorry.
Okay, no worries, There's a few things they are doing with, especially online exploitation and some of the trafficking stuff. They are starting to come down, make some more laws on that. Donna, you know which one it is?
So if you guys want to get involved, get with Stacy with My House. She's probably got like 8 bills that are going to the governor to support some of the things that are missing in our state statute to make them stronger. One thing we realized is the cartoon pornography is not on there, and they are using this to groom our children, so that's something we're going to have to add as well. I was also going to add that I'm on the FBI CJIS task force, and we had U.S. Marshals that were going to do an operation of some missing and murdered here in Alaska, but when they pulled the stats, we know there's tons of missing people. We go to so many meetings throughout the villages, and people are missing and murdered, but it wasn't documented properly into our law enforcement system, so no operation was done up here. So I think law enforcement has to do a better job of making sure it's entered properly into our ABSIN database and NCIC. If somebody goes missing, we don't wait 24 hours. You have to have it in within 2 hours. So there are some law enforcement agencies that are still waiting, so we need to educate our law enforcement as well.
Okay, that's more Hollywood doing some more damage than good. So you don't have to wait. If you know someone's missing, if you're a parent, have that gut feeling, something just doesn't seem right, you can report it right away. Please.
I have 2 questions on the same subject. So you said it was 40% of the law enforcement. Is that kind of nationwide as far as everything's down? And then what's your explanation of why it's so low?
Yeah, it's pretty much nationwide. As we've traveled throughout the lower 48 and even up here, this is not just an Alaskan problem. The law enforcement, I mean, I'll be frank with you guys. Who would want to be law enforcement? Let's see, I never see my family. I've got long hours. My community hates me as a general whole because of certain movements, political movements. They don't like law enforcement. You know, it's dangerous. The pay sucks. The hours suck. I'm just being honest. Well, who would want to be law enforcement? Maybe a masochist, someone who's into her pain, or someone who really genuinely cares. You know, the other thing too is we're seeing it in all other industries. It's not just law enforcement. Actually, what we're seeing is, especially in Alaska, they're hiring more veterans. I don't mean Army veterans or Navy veterans. I mean cops that had gotten out and are coming back because whether it be work ethic or certain things like that, or they already are trained up and ready to run. We're seeing this in everything. I had a gun store. I own a gun store in the valley. I couldn't hire kids. And the ones I did hire stole $18,000 worth of optics out of my store, took certain guns in they shouldn't have taken in and didn't do things they should have done, which could have put me in trouble. I have friends that have larger businesses. And I asked him how he's doing. He's like, I gotta hire 3 or 4 more kids. I had to let 3 or 4 more go in a week. It's just what it is. You know, I love my job. I love my team. I really do. We're like family. We really are. And we all have the same mindset of what we're trying to do. And a lot of the agencies here are great. They really are family. You know, Palmer, Wasilla, there's a lot of different agencies around here who really take care of their people and really, they're family. But it really is the ones with a true servant's heart that are sticking with it. The ones who want to do their community. It's not a place to go for a good retirement, I'll tell you that. We don't do it for the money. So I guess that's the best way I can explain it, the most honest way I can explain it. Thank you for the question, though. Thanks for letting us get it out there in the open. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you talked about the victims of human trafficking. What about the predators? How extensive is there a characteristic for a typical predator?
No.
Could be anybody.
Yes. It's not the creeper. It's not the 60-year-old man that's balding, overweight, and just has that vibe about him. Honestly, like I think I told you as we were starting this, most of the traffickers we're seeing now, aren't even exposed. What you see is the groomers and you see the recruiters. And that's the handlers you're seeing now, is the top girl, if you will. The top girl that kind of managed all the other ones here. You're not seeing a lot of the trafficking stuff. And the traffickers are not the ones doing the recruiting. They're just collecting the checks and they're making sure security is tight for this. That no one's in or out that doesn't belong there. But what you're seeing is 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 21-year-old, 23-year-old girls and boys. Those are your recruiters. Those are the ones to watch out for. It's not the creepy old man that we're used to. It's not the stranger danger years like it was in the 80s and 90s. That is long gone, my friend. Now it's kids their age. A few years older, even sometimes younger. Some of these kids are incredibly savvy. I'll tell you, I mean, I've had forensic interviews of sex assault victims. I've had 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds outsmart me or not disclose because they don't want to talk about it. 3 and 4 and 5. Some professionals who are very, very good at what they do on getting kids to open up, and these kids shut them down and know what to say. These kids have been so groomed and so hardwired by their abusers, by their exploiters. Even with professionals, they won't open up until they're ready. That's how bad it is. So it's not what we think it is. I guess that's my biggest message tonight, is take everything you thought it was and throw it away, because it's not. It's different now.
So is it extensive as far as the Johns, they're taking advantage of these kids there in this area?
Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely.
Extensive.
Extensive.
What kind of a person would do that?
That's a good question. It wouldn't, I mean, I don't take this as being like condescending or rude, but it's extensive enough to have 14,222 ads every time. They're not just throwing ads up there for their health, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's mind-boggling.
It is. It's sickening. There's a few times on there I have to turn stuff off because it's horrible.
So I was just going to add, when I was in the drug unit, I mean, people were doing a lot of things just to make money off of the drugs and bring in kilos of coke and heroin into the state. A lot of things you guys didn't realize that was happening. And now being back into law enforcement, I can tell you it's worse now than when I was in law enforcement, before I retired. What we're seeing now is there's more money in human trafficking than there's drugs. Why is that? Because you can keep using these people over and over. So that's why they're doing this. They're doing it for the money. A lot of these people are desensitized. They don't care anymore. And it's not just older people. We got high school kids recruiting other kids because it's about the money. They don't care.
Actually, to Donna's point, drugs become a secondary business. What happens is the kids are trafficking or muling it because it puts another degree of separation between that and the dealer. And if the kid gets busted, oh well. Yes, ma'am. Oh, no, Sally, go ahead.
Well, I was curious, once these people are identified and they've got so much evidence against them, what is the next step? Can they be arrested? And then what happens to them when they get to court? Are the courts agreeable to putting them behind bars?
I think Donna's giving me a signal not to answer that rude.
Our judges are a lot more lenient as well. That's another problem. I'm not going to hold back. It's a huge problem. So even though we have a good case, what's happening is the suspect that we're looking for is not even in the state. We're seeing the pictures are being sent out of state and from out of state into other countries. We can't even follow where these are going. It's not as easy as it sounds. We have what I know, once they went trooper was working a case, as you're working your 10-year-old case, I don't know if you heard, a guy was coming out of Austin, was talking to a young female here in the valley. I think she was 15. And he flew in, she skipped school. They ended up at a hotel. The parents got the notice that she wasn't at school. They followed the phone and found her in the hotel. The 15-year-old would not speak to law enforcement. They eventually got him to talk. He was a nurse in a child's hospital who flew to Alaska, paid $1,700 to have sex with this 15-year-old girl. This is what we're dealing with.
So, good question as far as can we arrest him? Yes, we can arrest him. And our job as law enforcement is to make that arrest, to gather as much information as we can, put together as much evidence as we can, and then we hand it off. After that point, this is another frustration when you ask about why it's hard to get law enforcement, is no fault of your own, but the public blames law enforcement of why something didn't go right. We did everything we could. I can wrap it up in the biggest bow and have the best solid case, and when the DA, the judge just says, no, I don't feel good about this, I'm going to take this one instead. Or they plea bargain. Absolutely, plea bargaining things down just to get that guaranteed something on them, and then it just goes to a slap on the wrist. So that's what we're seeing a lot too, to be honest with you. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, and this concerns the children. Is there some place in this country, because I know it's not here, that these kids can go to, their families can go to, where they can start working on the trauma that has been in their lives, where they can start working on opening up and trying to get their life back?
I'm just smiling at my wife because it's something we've been talking about as retirement comes around. It's something we've talked about. My wife and I doing is opening a ranch that works with horses and use equine therapy, and we start counseling and faith-based counseling and confidence building with horses, firearms, other things that kids want to do, and I would love to do that. I don't know any personally. I imagine we could probably find a few. There's a few who try here in the state. I'll be honest, there's a few who try, but they're so inundated and there's so few workers to do it that it's another place where a lot of kids are slipping through the cracks, to be honest with you. And I'm trying to be as honest and not get in trouble from my boss. So.
Priceless and My House are good resources.
Priceless and My House are two good resources. Yes, ma'am.
Years ago, I was at a meeting hosted in the Valley, and I just said hello to a young lady that was in the meeting. She told me that her 2 young boys had gone to the lower 48, and when they came back, and she was trying to track, this was with foster care. They had gone with because of foster care here in Alaska. And when they came back, the little boy told her when she was having an OCS meeting that he was threatened, the little boy was threatened in his body parts, whatever, if he said anything of what was going on. And then I had become aware, she actually became an attorney. Then I became aware of others, and also it's acknowledged in that FBI brochure that we got from back here about the vulnerability in foster care. And this is known nationwide, and at Priceless Alaska, Old Singleton that came to Alaska to speak, 2014, 15, 16, I can't remember how many times, she acknowledged also the vulnerability and gave many details about the subject of foster care. And Joe Miller actually had an article that about 88% of those traffic victims, and I don't know where he got his statistics, but it's I have the link to that still 88% is the percent I remember have been in foster care. So I was wondering, has there been presentations to in the state of Alaska to the people involved with foster care?
If OCS wants me to come do presentations and help educate, I would love to. It's probably one of the things I have to have them reach out to me. I know. I would love to. I think they need more training. I think they would need more help. I think some of our foster parents and some of our volunteers do an amazing job. I think some more do it more for the money, and I'll be honest. So I think that's where we see some of these kids slip through the cracks. They get disenfranchised or they get abused. Because believe it or not, abuse happens through OCS. Or through something, not through OCS, but through some of the foster homes. It does. I'm not gonna lie. You know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And human nature is human nature. And so I'm not gonna bash an agency. I think if we had these open conversations, interagency in the state, it would probably start to actually make a difference. If everyone swallowed their pride, swallowed their ego, sat down at a table and started talking, how do we fix this? How do we save our children? How do we protect our children? That would probably be the biggest step. It's just a big leap to get from here to there, to be honest with you. And hopefully it does happen. I pray it happens. I think it should happen.
My question has to do with grooming. Mm-hmm. You made a statement that about cartoon pornography. Mm-hmm. And right now, a big issue in our valley, it has to do with some of these library books that are being, in our elementary school and secondary school, where high school libraries. And it's, to me, the people that are defending these books being in the libraries are the people that should be the ones that are protecting our children the most, it seems like. The educators, the librarians, the administrators that are coming out in support of a lot of these books. Do you have an opinion about that, or are these books, would they be considered pornographic?
I have to refer you to counsel back there, i.e. my police chief, before I make an opinion publicly.
Like, oh, please don't say it. The best bet, politically saying, is you have to get with your legislators to give us the statute to enforce it. I'd be happy to go to any school that has something that is illegal in their school, in the library, and take those books out and arrest people for having those books in the school, but give me the statutes to enforce it, such as cartoon pornography. We don't have it. So somehow get this in the statute so we can do something. How's that?
I think Donna's onto something. I think Donna has actually, I think Donna needs to run for what? House? Maybe Senate? Once you retire, after retiring, retire again. So, no, it's a good question, John. It's a legitimate question that until we have a standard, and you're gonna get challenges, you get lawsuits because of freedom of speech and everything else like that, but it's common sense. It's not an infringement of freedom of speech and not expose our children. There is laws in the book about exposing pornography to children. There is. But under the guise of a school and a book, it's not looked at the same way. So we need to strengthen those laws, as Donna is saying. And I'm in the same boat. I'd be riding shotgun, she'll be driving fast, we'll get them out of there as quick as we can. So, but it has to be changed at the legislative level, to be honest with you.
Give us the teeth to enforce the law, we can do it. But if it's we can't do it, and that's the issue. We just have a 10-year-old, we're talking about the pornography, but we can't charge her.
Yeah,
The cartoon. He's got it.
10-year-old, this goes to VR, the VR headsets. Started with VR and then went into her iPad where she was being sent videos. And since there's not a law for cartoons, it's actually just a sex play, especially where it shows up buttocks, vagina, penis, things of that nature. But there's not enough teeth to it for it to include anime or cartoon porn. And so we're stuck. And not completely stuck, but the guy's already probably in Malaysia anyways. We're seeing a lot of out-of-country exploitation. We're seeing a lot of out-of-country issues. So, but we need those teeth. And like I said, I'm not one for a lot of laws. I'm a bit of a constitutionalist, to be honest with you. But there is common sense and there is protecting our most valuable assets, our most valuable resource, our children. And I'm all for anything that helps law enforcement or even our public do that, to be honest with you. So. Any other questions, comments? Oh, we got two back here. Oh, sorry, Bert.
We got the LGBTQ community out there, and we're constantly hearing about...
Are you guys trying to get me fired?
Yes, we are. and we're constantly hearing about biology doesn't matter anymore, it's all about your feelings. Myself with very older children, but they were just previously left school within the last few years. They were inundated by our school system on a regular basis to don't ask, don't tell once you leave school. My child had been programmed with that mentality throughout high school while she was there. Do not tell, do not say, here's our safe space room and here's how we're going to deal with it within our classrooms. Is the schools a part of your discussion that we got going on here right now? Are they contributing to the exploitation and trafficking of our children by allowing this to be going on within our schools?
I will say this, and I'll be as professional as I can. Anybody that avails pornography, anybody that avails any kind of thing that desensitizes or is contrary to the morals in which a parent instills into that child is wrong. That's the best way I could say it. I'm not going to target anything else, I can't. but y'all can get what I'm saying. It's that simple. You know, this is your children. I'll be honest, I homeschooled my kids for the last, 3 years? 3 years of Porter, 2 years of Savannah. 4 years of Porter, 2 years of Savannah. I homeschooled my kids because I got tired of it. And I have some horror stories that we don't need to get into here, but things that my kids saw, pressures that were put on them. Even my son being targeted because he was too conservative or too religious. Yeah, so we homeschooled, and actually my son graduated a year early. We took him to Texas, had a great time shooting hogs with thermal vision and catching sharks, and now he's in a welding apprenticeship, so, oh well. And we taught him constitutional law instead of something other Alaska studies, so I'm just being honest. But no, I'm not gonna target the schools, but I think anybody who exposes our children to anything like that is in the wrong and does contribute to it. That's simple. Yes?
On one of your slides, I'm almost afraid to ask, but you talked about sexual tourism. Can you define that?
Sexual tourism, it's not so much up here, I guess. Sexual tourism is just certain hot spots where you know it, like say Vegas, San Francisco, Vegas, Seattle, Denver actually is a pretty hot spot right now. Florida, certain areas in Florida, certain areas, Houston, Texas, Austin, Texas actually has a high amount right now. Phoenix, Arizona, that's more your sexual tourism. And so when I was talking about how some of these young girls and young boys, as this website I have tracks where their ads have been going, it actually puts like a little map of where that's more the sexual tourism. So as far as I know, there's not really a sexual tourism thing here so much per se. I would say maybe a little bit more down in Anchorage with some of the cruise ship stuff / visitor stuff of certain people, but not to the level of other areas in the lower 48, to be completely frank with you.
I just got back from a Wasilla meeting speaking against the pornography, Wasilla city meeting. I appreciate hearing that the statutes to enforce, I think you said, need to be more specific. Because it's clear, I've seen the books, they're explicit and just off the wall horrible. And there is a group of people that are just saying, oh, they need to know this stuff. But there is a line where it hurts them and puts them into a damaged area. And you're saying the law is protecting that. I guess walk through that a little bit for my awareness, and then what kind of needs to change within the city laws, I guess.
Mary, what?
So we're looking at our state statutes. You want to get with Sarah, what's in Homer, Representative? Sarah Vance. She does human trafficking for the legislators. She's very involved. Reach out to her, and I think she can help you with maybe language change and hopefully see where it goes from there. But we need state statute change. When you're in the city like Palmer, we talk about Palmer PD, we have ordinances, but we have nothing to deal with this. We really rely on our state statutes, and a lot of them are pretty old. We need to update them.
So Mary, can I ask you what the Wasilla Chamber Council decided to do?
Okay, from what I understand, the problem was the books were for the young adult, which is 14. So they got them in there, and we were talking about one. This is Jackie Goforth, who's very public about this. So she's complaining about one book that's in that area where they actually just put the name adult over there at the young adult. So they really didn't change anything, because there is a physical, like the books are right there where the kids are, kind of right across from them. So they just changed the name to adult at the library, and they're really putting it on the parents. The parents are in charge, and yeah, the parents are, but it's really wishy-washy as far as, I mean, going online, that's why this is good, because you can watch your kids online better. But just, they aren't really doing much. They're blaming, really, us for complaining, is really what is coming down to. And putting a lot of roadblocks up to the effort of making changes.
Can I actually bring up one point real quick?
Sure.
I applaud what you guys are doing, especially with the pornographic material, especially the more risque books, because it does desensitize our children. If you talk to, say, Keith Barkwood with Palmer, he's the SRO, and you ask him what these kids are watching on their cell phones or what they're talking about, and I'm not trying to belittle your cause, but that book is the least of your worries.
I see what you're
I'm
saying.
just being, I mean, I'd rather you focus on something that...
You can change.
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I mean, you would be surprised at the videos that they transfer to each other while in class. Straight pornography. And all kinds of horrible stuff. I'll tell you, actually, I know of reports of kids going into the bathroom at Colony High School and having to move around two other young boys, age 14, having anal sex next to them. So I know, I'm not saying don't keep doing what you're doing. I think it's a righteous cause. But what I'm saying is if you knew half the stuff that happened in schools, I mean, talk to some SROs, talk to school resource officers, the cops that are boots on the ground in the schools.
But they're going through it.
And these kids are being slammed from every direction, nonstop, all the time.
The name of the SRO is?
School resource officer.
Okay.
Actually, Officer Dulow's one too. He's going to be probably posted up in a school here soon, I imagine.
You had a name of them. Did you have a name of one or?
Yeah, Keith Barkwood.
Keith, that's it.
Yeah, there's SROs in Colony, Remington, Palmer, Wasilla, I think all of those, right? Any last minute questions? Yes.
Can't we just defund the libraries? I mean, can't we just close them if they're gonna pervert children? Why don't you just turn off the lights, lock the doors, and tell those librarians to find another job? We don't want to fund this. It's horrible what they're doing to children.
We'll come to the assembly meetings and talk. We're getting ready to go into budget season, you know, in March. So come and talk to the assembly. Yeah.
One question. I just want this kind of halfway back by it being confirmed that one of the key, it's not, okay, that one of the key, there we go, that one of the key issues that is a promoter of people that are incarcerated big time in prison was the pornography to begin with. Well, I would just like for you to just communicate there.
I think pornography is as bad as drugs, as illicit drugs. It is, I mean, same dopamine response, same addiction, same controlling of a life, same place it ends up coming, to be honest with you. So no, I think that we look at drugs, illicit drugs is one way, and we look at pornography as another. I'd put them very much in the same category of what it does to our society and what it does to a human being, as it makes you do things you oughtn't do. And the thing about pornography, especially even with this anime, and this is what gets our children in trouble too, is it's one-upping. And this is something you got to realize, that you might watch one thing 1 minute, and then you want something more exciting because that dopamine rush from the first thing you saw isn't getting it anymore. And then it's the next thing, it's next thing, next thing, next thing, and then you start going into sadomasochism, you start getting into bondage porn, you start getting into torture porn, you start getting into other horrible things. It's a progression. It's not just I can watch porn, once a week and be good. It's very much like a drug. You start building up a tolerance, you start looking for the best next high or best next fix. And as it desensitizes our children, especially at that young age, when they are that impressionable and their idea of sex and what's acceptable or what's, to be honest with you, there's certain cases that have been made off of some of these boys and girls that have watched things online and then under a consensual relationship with someone their age end up getting in trouble because of some of the things I watched online is not the way a young lady or a young boy should be treated, but they watched it online and thought that's what sex was. So it is very damning, it is very damaging. So like I said, I wasn't trying to detract what you're doing with the library. I'm just saying unfortunately our kids are being inundated 24/7, especially even in our home. Honestly, to be completely frank, it's probably more in your own home than it is even when they're out away. And I'm just being honest. I appreciate all you guys listening, asking your questions, the questions I love. If you want to get a hold of me, I'm at Chickaloon. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah, I agreed with her about shutting down the library, but also if we use the computers for our education purposes that we purchase for the schools, we could shut their library down too. We wouldn't have to worry about the books. If they want to look something up, look it up online, plus you get that parental guidance and control. So I think we need to bring that up at the next borough meeting.
Y'all know me. I fought things at the borough. I fought the shooting range ban. 2.5 years of my life and about $8,000 out of my pocket. So when you say it goes nowhere, trust me, I've been there. I understand how it feels to be hopeless. But what it comes down to is getting your community together, getting good candidates up there, like Donna was saying. Get candidates that are going to push issues, certain laws, put more teeth in. And it takes a lot of work, it takes time, it takes money. You know, it was hard on my family. My family asked, Dad, does that phone ever leave your side? But it's a fight. If you really believe in it, you're going to fight, and it's going to be hard. I've seen a couple people in this room. You know, Pat, Jared, Dave, Lloyd, Mike, John. I mean, you guys Dave, you guys fought this fight. If you really want to fight it, you're going to fight it. You know, if you really want and make our job in law enforcement easier, you got to get with your legislators. If you give me teeth, trust me, I'll bite so freaking hard. I just got to have it. So,
Okay, well, let's go ahead.
It is Christmas, it's elf season, isn't it?
Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Does anybody have some announcements? Pastor Barry, or I thought I saw David walk in. Do you two want to talk about your meeting tomorrow night here?
Yeah, sure do. Actually, next couple of days we've got Douglas Frank here in town, one of the nation's foremost experts on election integrity, also a really super individual. Even if you didn't care anything about elections, just come because he's awesome, and you'll enjoy what he has to say. He'll be here at 7 o'clock tomorrow, and then he'll be over at the Menard Center on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, he'll be at the food group, and he'll also have a meeting at the Rotary Club. So he'll be in a lot of different places. I hope one or more of those places you'll be at and get a chance to meet him. If not, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Starts at 7 o'clock.
Just one more place he's going to be. What? How big?
Hand it off to me.
Yeah.
The one that Dave didn't mention there was also we're going to catch Dr. Frank just before he leaves town on the 14th at the Big Lake Family Restaurant. And that'll be at 6:30 for food, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock. He will have his bags packed and his transportation will be hauling him from there to the Red Knight Express going down the lower 48. So he will be leaving town on the night of the 14th, the morning of the 15th. So if you don't make some of the others, I plan on attending a couple of them, you know, so I can learn even more. And he is a Nobel Prize winner, any area within science, nominee, excuse me, thank you. And any area in science that you want to deal with, I mean, I'm a science major as well myself, but you know, unless people are just trying to be jerks, you know, and trying to act like they know something when in essence they really don't, he would be able to answer your questions. And even if you doubted the fact that anything could have happened in the elections, he'd be able to square you away real quick. Thank you.
Were you able to set anything up with the Lieutenant Governor on elections, to have him to meet or chat or anything like that? David, you want to address that?
I would say.
Let him go.
You know, he's met with over 20 different secretaries of state across the country, many attorney generals. He's talked with many, many, many people. And he's willing to talk to any of our elected officials while he's in town. I will say, though, there are very few officials that are going to want to talk to him. Because when you come away from a conversation with him, as I have, now you're responsible to do something about it. And very few people pursue elected office so that they can have that responsibility and actually, follow through. So, yes, but, as soon as you get someone that wants to talk to him, someone else is going to come over behind their shoulder and say, oh, no, don't do that. So there's a tug of war going on for the heart and soul of our country, and he's right at the center of it.
All right, announcement?
Dr. Douglas Frank is going to be at the affordable, catering on the 14th, 10 to noon, which is on the Palmarosa Highway.
Okay.
Just one more thing for Dr. Douglas Fink. You can always watch on my live streamed his broadcast yesterday. It's about 4 hours long, and it is worth every second to sit through watching what he has to say and hear what he has to tell you about our elections statewide and throughout the United States.
And where do you get
Anywhere at Politadick.
I'll go ahead and pull that up and put it on School of Government also.
I think you did already.
Okay, he's Joe Miller's got a podcast with him, and that's recorded, it's on YouTube. There's Bob Berg today. That recording is at 9:20 a.m. Right hand side, you go to their computer, look up 9:20 a.m. Kenai. Right hand side, there's a drop down that beat today's recording. He did an interview there today. There's one for Amelcan Coffee. It's on their website. You'll be able to find one there. Wednesday morning, 7 o'clock. I get this one. 7 o'clock, I think it is. It might be 7:05. One of them 7:05, one 7 o'clock. Just turn it on to 7. He's going to do one with Amy Dabalski. And that one's going to be Wednesday morning. Thursday morning is Michael Dukes. And Amy's at 6:20. Is it 6:20?
Yeah. 6:50.
6:50. And Michael is...
Just online.
It's online, but it's also an FM station somewhere.
Is there a radio station that it's on, or just online?
I think I've got it here somewhere.
Where's David at? David? Is Michael Dukes just online, or does he have is he on a radio station?
I listen to 105, that's all I know.
105.7 FM.
Okay.
Moving. It's called Moving. Michael Dukes.
Okay. So lots of opportunities to listen to him, so.
A lot of good stuff. Woo.
Any other announcements? This will be the last School of Government we have for this year, 2023. We won't be meeting the week there of Christmas. Then our next meeting will be January 8th, and Whitbeck will be here talking to us about power. And so that'll be the night of the 18th of January. Any other announcements? Okay, if you'll all stand, I'll dismiss in prayer. So Lord, again, we thank you for the people that you brought out tonight, Lord, to learn, Lord God, that you will give us a clear path for each one of us, Lord, that each one of us can take one piece that we learned tonight and make that our crusade, Lord. Lord, that you guide and you direct us. Lord, you have chosen us. You've allowed us to live in this time period. You have armed us. You have equipped us, Lord, to be able to stand in this battle, Lord, for righteousness, Lord, and we will stand, Lord, and we will do what you tell us to do, and we will fulfill the plan and purpose that you have for our lives, and together for the life that you have for this borough and for this state and for our nation. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, thank you guys all for being here today. If you were watching this on Politadick on Facebook earlier, Facebook for some reason decided to crash it on the Politadick page. You can still find it on Politadick Unfiltered on Facebook. And I did get it restarted onto Politadick, but you missed a little section of it. If you want to watch this uncut and uncensored, it is on YouTube, it is on X, it is also on Rumble, and Politadick Unfiltered is also the other site on Facebook. And of course, when we're always live, you can always watch us live on our own website at Politadick Live. And while you're at our website, or if you have never been to our website, please go to our website and go to the support page. Click that support button. I'd like to thank all of our monthly subscribers out there for their continued support. You guys help keep the lights on and the bills paid to keep the streaming services up and functioning so that we can be found on all these different social media channels. We are actively getting more and more aggressive in what we're doing. This is our first week back into the groove of getting stuff done. Once again, thank you guys all for your patience for like about the last month and a half that I have been out of it. And but you'll be seeing a lot more getting posted from us here at Politadick. And make sure to like, share, click that bell to be notified every time we go live, and that you subscribe to us on all of our channels. The more subscribers we get, the more they propagate the system out there. Amazingly enough, I had more people watching on Rumble, where I only got about 100 people there, and than I had watching here on Facebook today. So that tells you a lot. Or on YouTube and everywhere else. What basically boiled down to is Rumble beat Facebook, Facebook beat out YouTube, and that's about the way the social media platforms go, even though you have more followers in one place versus the other. Again, like and share this video. I'd also like to throw out there one more, and that is and I will pop them up on the screen now, to Tracy's Treasures. Tracy's Treasures is a proud sponsor of Politadick, and you can see the beautiful American flag that we were donated to us as part of their support for what we do. You will see that when we go live within our studio in January, and maybe a little bit earlier than that. I might do something for the Christmas over the Christmas break and the New Year area. I guarantee you'll be seeing something. Maybe go to the fireworks. Like and subscribe to us. Thank you guys all for being here today. We really do appreciate it. You guys all have yourself a great Monday night. I will see you tomorrow night here again at Real Life Church for Dr. Douglas Frank and election integrity, and breaking down how the elections are working throughout the United States and here in Alaska. The things you need to know and understand. It's a real eye-opener. It's not going to be as long as the one that I live streamed yesterday. It should be just a couple hours tomorrow night. But please tune in. Make sure you click that bell to be notified so you know when we go live. We'll see you later.